Hello, my name is Abby and I am the Talking Book Librarian. Thank you for joining us for our book talk series. These videos will be recorded and out on the Indiana State Library's YouTube channel, as well as the Talking Book Facebook page. The purpose of these book talks is to provide book ideas for book clubs and to include questions for you to answer either for yourself or in a book club setting. These videos will remain online in perpetuity, so you can decide to read these books whenever you'd like. If you are interested in this book or any of the others, give the Talking Book employees a call at 800-622-4970. Feel free to pause this video at any time to answer any of the questions or have a discussion. The book we will be discussing today is Angela's Ashes by Frank McCourt. I picked this book because it is one of my favorites, and just happily it came at the same time as St. Patrick's Day, and this is set in Ireland, so that was a fun, happy accident. And so we will move on to a description of the book, and that would be, when I look back on my childhood, I wonder how I managed to survive at all. It was, of course, a miserable childhood. The happy childhood is hardly worth your while. Worse than the ordinary miserable childhood is the miserable Irish childhood. And worse yet is the miserable Irish Catholic childhood. And that's a quote by Frank McCourt. So begins the Pulitzer Prize winning memoir of Frank McCourt, born in Depression-era Brooklyn to recent Irish immigrants and raised in the slums of Limerick, Ireland. Frank's mother, Angela, has no money to feed the children since Frank's father, Malachi, rarely works, and when he does, he drinks his wages. Yet Malachi, exasperating, irresponsible, and beguiling, does nurture in Frank an appetite for the one thing he can provide, a story. Frank lives for his father's tales of heroes who saved Ireland and of the angel on the seventh step, who brings his mother babies. Perhaps it is a story that accounts for Frank's survival, wearing rags for diapers, begging a pig's head for Christmas dinner, and gathering coal from the roadside to light a fire. Frank endures poverty, near starvation, and the casual cruelty of relatives and neighbors, yet lives to tell his tale with eloquence, exuberance, and remarkable forgiveness. Angela's Ashes, imbued on every page with Frank McCourt's astounding humor and compassion. It is a glorious book that bears all the marks of a classic. And then a little bit about Frank McCourt. Frank McCourt was an Irish-American teacher and author. He was born in Brooklyn. However, his family returned to their native Ireland in 1934. He received the Pulitzer Prize in 1997 and National Book Critics Circle Award in 1996 for his memoir, Angela's Ashes, which came out in 1996, which details his childhood as a poor Irish Catholic in Limerick. He is also the author of Tis in 1999, which continues the narrative of his life, picking up from the end of the previous book and focusing on life as a new immigrant in America. Teacher Man, which came out in 2005, detailed the challenges of being a young, uncertain teacher who must impart knowledge to his students. His works are often part of the syllabus in high schools. In 2002, he was awarded an honorary degree from the University of Western Ontario. He died July 19th, 2009 of melanoma, the deadliest form of skin cancer. He was 78. And now we're going to go on to the discussion questions. So discussion question 1, ever present in Angela's Ashes is the Catholic Church. In what ways does the Catholic Church of McCourt's Ireland hurt its members and limit their experience? How does the church protect and nurture its followers? What is Frank's attitude toward the church? Question 2, the Catholic Church comes in for some pretty bad press in Angela's Ashes. How might Frank's life have been different if the church was less authoritarian and judgmental in his view? I went too far. Question 3. McCourt writes, I think my father is like the Holy Trinity with 3 people in him. The one in the morning with the paper, the one at night with the stories and prayers, and then the one who does the bad things and comes home with the smell of whiskey and wants us to die for Ireland. Was this your impression of Frank McCourt's father? How can Frank write about his father without bitterness? What part did Malachi play in creating the person that Frank eventually became? Next question. Women, in particular mothers, play a significant role in Angela's ashes. Recall the scenes between Angela and her children, the McNamara sisters, Delia and Philomena, and Malachi, Aunt Aggie and young Frank, Angela, and her own mother. In what ways do these interactions reflect the roles of women within their families? Discuss the ways in which Angela struggles to keep her family together in the most desperate of circumstances. I think I went too far again. Goodness. Okay. Next question. McCourt titles his memoir, Angela's Ashes, after his mother. What significance does the phrase Angela's Ashes acquire by the end of the book? Despite the McCourt's horrid poverty, mind-numbing starvation, and devastating losses, Angela's Ashes is not a tragic memoir. In fact, it is uplifting and triumphant even. How does McCourt accomplish this? Irish songs and lyrics are prominently featured in Angela's Ashes. How do these lyrics contribute to the unique voice of this memoir? How does music affect Frank's experiences? How do you think it continues to influence his memories of his childhood? Frank spent the first 4 years of his life in the United States. How do his experiences in America affect Frank's years in Ireland, or his perception of them? McCourt's memoir is his story seen through his own perspective. How does this affect the authenticity of his story? Should it even matter if he might have missed or skipped or exaggerated a few episodes? The Irish writer Edna O'Brien said the following about Irish characters. When anyone asks me about the Irish character, I say, look at the trees, maimed, stark, and misshapen, but ferociously tenacious. Would you say this statement describes the characters in McCourt's memoir? Why do you think most memoirs are written about difficult lives or dysfunctional families, or both? Could it be interesting to read a memoir written by someone rich, happy, beautiful, and loved? How different of a memoir would Angela's Ashes be if McCourt wrote it as a younger man instead of in his 60s? How on earth did McCourt make this memoir so hilariously funny in spite of all of the misery that he writes about? And these questions were both found at thereadinggroupguides.com. They have a review on Angela's Ashes, as well as a website called schmoop.com. They have a lot of different reviews and questions to ask in a book club setting for different books. And now I'd like to provide a few of my own thoughts on the book. Like I said before, I even have my own copy. Angela's Ashes is one of my favorites. I think I first read it maybe in 8th grade or high school, somewhere kind of formative in the formative years of my life. I thought it was a very well written memoir. I enjoyed it. I also own Tiz and Teacher Man at my house. And so if you ever want to continue reading about Frank McCourt's life, because it is so interesting and he writes in such a great way, I definitely recommend checking out Tiz or Teacher Man, which just continue his life and very interesting. But overall, I really enjoy this memoir. I think it's an interesting look into how it was like to live in Ireland during that time in the 50s and before. And I think that he writes with a lot of humor and he makes it seem maybe not quite so bad as what the reality of it was. And him being able to inject that humor makes it quite fun to read. That concludes today's book talk. In May, we have a special book talk that I am working with the Indiana Young Reader Center. Suzanne will be joining me, and we will be discussing a local author that writes kids' books. And we'll be doing that as well in July as well. So we'll be doing some summer reading fun, and summer reading begins May 30th for ages 4 to 18. So if you're interested in that, please tune in and I will see you next time. Thank you.